And welcome to pillar number 7, know thy client. You can also think of this one as niche down. And the reason I bring this one up is because a lot of y'all as handymen, you start with this basic assumption that you're supposed to be everything to everybody, which makes sense because you are, as a handyman, kind of supposed to be everything. But the trick is it doesn't have to be to everybody, because I can promise you that if you think you're doing a good job at everything for everybody, you're definitely not doing a great job at anything for anybody, and that's the definition of mediocrity. Now, if we look at, let's say, electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, all of these specialists, for example, they're all hitting 6 figures, or at least they should be if they're owner-operator business owners. And the reason is because they've niched down on their skill set. They've been able to extract all of the efficiencies with the skills and the tools that they use on a daily basis. And many of them have also niched down on their client base, but the important thing for them is that they niched down on their skill set. Now you, as a handyman, you can't do that. A handyman is expected to have a general knowledge of all of the skill sets. That's really at the core of what makes us a handyman. So what this means is that since we cannot niche down on a specific skill set, then what we're going to have to do is niche down on the types of projects that we take on and on the clients that we take on. Hence the name to this video, Know Thy Clients. So let's take a look at what types of clients and jobs we can niche down to as a handyman. You could niche down to only working for governments and institutions. Or you could niche down to only working for either commercial properties or residential properties. And then let's say you pick residential properties. Well, now you have to choose between niching down to real estate agents only who have their own needs, or property managers only, or homeowners only. And then going even further, let's say you picked the homeowners. Well, you can still niche down because you can work for homeowners and only be the additions and remodel guy, or you can only be the general maintenance kind of guy doing smoke detectors and leaky sinks and stuff, or you could even niche down to only doing emergency work. But regardless of which of these you choose, these are all different areas where, depending on what you've niched down to, you're now going to be able to start figuring out how to make your specific thing that you do as efficient as possible to serve your clients in the best way possible so that they want to continue being your clients. And I think the best way for me to make this really clear is to just give you some examples and some stories from what I do. If you watch this channel much, you already know I work for property managers exclusively. And the reason I do that is because I noticed when I came into contact with my first property manager that this is an underserved field. They had a lot of needs not being met, and I saw an opportunity to meet those needs while charging a premium for my services. So that's the direction I decided to take. And as I took that direction, I started paying really close attention and just observing all of my property managers to see what exactly it was that they valued and what it was that they needed. Which, by the way, what a property manager wants is not necessarily what a property manager needs, and I'm pretty sure you're going to find that that's going to apply to all clients. Sometimes clients think they know what they want, and they might know what they want, but what they don't know is they actually need something very different, and your job is to really figure out both what they want and what they need and be the best at providing both to them. So number one, most of my property managers I found when I started working for them spend more than half their time dealing with maintenance issues. So I made it my goal to start taking all of those maintenance issues off of their plates, and the first thing I realized was they're answering phone calls all day, and most of the time those phone calls are from tenants who are upset or concerned about something dealing with their work order. And I set about the task of figuring out what those were and fixing them. So number one, most of the time when the tenants are calling the property manager with an issue related to a work order, it's because they haven't heard from anybody. It's just taking too long, and nobody's even reached out to schedule. So the first policy change that I made was to make sure that anytime I receive a new work order, even if I'm not ready to schedule that job, I'm contacting that tenant within 24 hours. Preferably same day, but definitely within 24 hours. And what this does is it makes sure that the tenant now, number one, knows that they're being taken care of. Somebody is on the job. And number two, it means that if they do have a complaint or a concern, they now have my number and they can call me directly to deal with getting scheduled or any issues that they may have or any concerns that may have popped up. So right away, they stop calling that property manager because I'm now on their radar and they now have my information and they can call me. And of course, I try to make sure that they don't have any complaints to call the property manager with to begin with. Now, number two, in terms of things that property managers are dealing with, maintenance related all day, is a lot of their handymen, they have to hold their hands. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of handymen out here who specialize in property managers, and they don't understand that what a property manager really wants, honestly, more than somebody who can fix a toilet, is they want somebody who can just simply take the logistics of maintenance off of their plate completely. And what happens a lot is they find a handyman, and he's good at fixing stuff, but he kind of wants to be an employee. He kind of wants to be managed, and he wants reassurances that all of the decisions he's making are the right ones. And this is not what a property manager wants. This is one of those areas where the property manager thinks that that's what they want. They think they want a handyman who will kind of be their employee, but they actually don't. What they really truly want, and what they value in the end after you give them what they value so that they can see this is what they value, what they truly want is a handyman where they send me the work order, and then a week later they get an invoice. And somehow in between, I made all the decisions. I called, I scheduled, I showed up like a professional, gave the tenant nothing to complain about, saw the problem, and made my own decisions as if I was the property owner. And that's basically how I do it, is I go in my own head and I say, if this was my rental property, how would I want this issue resolved? And then I simply resolve the issue in the way that I think the homeowner and or the property manager would want it resolved, and I don't call the property manager to ask her 20 different questions about how we want to deal with the ceiling fan or what kind of ceiling fan we want to replace it with. I just make all those calls, and once again, they stop having to deal with maintenance, and I've taken it off their plate, and that's what they value. Now, the third thing that my property managers deal with a lot is unhappy homeowners. These are the owners of the homes that the property managers are renting out and managing the properties for. And these homeowners, one of the few things that they're going to have to complain about is pricing from the handyman. So it now becomes my job to figure out where this window is. And this window, beneath here, on this window, everything under here means I'm not making enough money for this to be worth my time. Everything above here is so expensive that the homeowner's going to complain. And it's now my job to figure out where the bottom is and where the top is, and then to play with my pricing to get it up here. I want it to be near the top because I want to be making six figures, but I don't want to hit the top or go past the top, because now my property managers are starting to deal with unhappy homeowners. And once again, my goal is to take all of this off their plate. That half of their day that they put into maintenance issues, I want that entire half a day to be gone. I want them to come to work and feel like maintenance is not even part of their job. I'm their maintenance department, and the only thing they need to do is receive the work order and shoot it over to me and then wait for an invoice. So my job is to set my pricing just right where I make as much money as possible, but without the homeowners being upset and calling the property manager to demand lower prices. And moving on to number 4, we're going to talk about speed. And by speed, I don't necessarily mean how fast you get the job done on the job. Although that is really good for you and for your returns and for your efficiency, I'm talking about specifically how many days have elapsed since the property manager sent you the work until the day that you actually complete and invoice that work. That number needs to be a low number. The longer these jobs stay open, the longer you have tenants with broken homes, the more likely tenants are to call and complain. So your property manager is always going to be looking at how much time it's taking you to get these jobs done from the day they send you the job. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make with a property manager is to go get distracted by other work. However, this applies to all clients. It doesn't matter if you're working for property managers. Whoever you have decided to niche down to, you're not going to be serving them as quickly as you can if you're getting distracted by other work. So I will tell you guys, sometimes these homeowners, as well as just other friends and family and other clients from the past, will approach me and offer me a very nice premium to put off what I'm doing for my property managers to come and build them a kitchen or a bathroom or to do some other premium expensive project. And the money is enticing, but here's the thing, I always say no. And the reason is because my property managers, they each send me over $100,000 a year worth of work, at least my 2 biggest ones. And the smaller ones still send a significant amount of money per year worth of work. So this one little quick kitchen remodel that may be great money this week, that's going to cause me to put off work for my real clients, the ones who truly value and understand my business and keep my bills paid. So I do not get distracted and step outside of my niche for anything. I make sure that I stay within my niche all the time. I serve my clients as good as I can serve my clients, and none of my time goes outside of my niche. That is how I make sure that I'm the best at what I do, so that my property managers only want to send work to me. And then number 5, we don't have to only focus on how to prevent the negatives, we can also focus on how to give more of the positives. And one of the positives that I found out I can give property managers is getting move-outs done really quickly. So here in Arizona, a property manager has 14 days to close out a move-out so that the tenant has been informed of what their return on their deposit's going to be. Which means as a handyman, by the time you get the work order, you typically have about 10, maybe even 12 days to get all of that done, which then gives your property manager a couple days to send the cleaner and everybody else and get this property closed out, paperwork done, numbers sent to the previous tenants so they know how much their deposit return is going to be. And that's legal here in Arizona. That's how it has to be done. So as the handyman, I may have 10 or 12 days, but here's the thing. I try to get mine done within 3 or 4 days, because if I can get my work done within 3 or 4 days, they can now send the cleaners on day 4 or 5 and the landscapers. They can get that property put back on the market, and if it's a good market and if the pricing is good, they can get a new tenant put right back in that property within a week or two from the old tenant moving out. And that, I promise you, blows the minds of a lot of the homeowners, and even better yet, it makes the property manager, who is my real client, my client is the property manager, it makes them look good, because from the perspective of the homeowner, they've chosen the right property management company to trust with their property, because instead of their property sitting vacant for a month after the tenant moves out, during which time they're losing money. These are investments. They want a ROI on that investment, and they're not getting that ROI as long as that property is vacant. So by me knocking out move-outs really quickly, I make the property manager's life easier, I get tenants back in the properties quicker, and I make the property manager look good to their client, the homeowner. So it's a win-win-win all the way around, and what it means for me now is that I get basically all the move-outs from all of my property managers, because once again, I niched down, I knew my client, I observed my client, I figured out what my client values as compared to what they want. I figured out what they actually value, what they actually need. I delivered that to them. I make them look good to their clients. And in the end, I have become the expert at my little tiny sliver of the construction world. Now, I could go on and on and on about every little way that I've learned to niche down to my property managers. I'm not going to bore you with that. I just wanted to give you the examples, because what the examples should make clear to you is that you need to know who your clients are. And if you already do, then the next step is just to start figuring out what they value and making sure that you're delivering what they value, and making sure that you get faster and better and more efficient at delivering that, so that you can start increasing your revenue on, let's say, a per hour, per day, per week, per month, per year basis. Increase that revenue by niching down, understanding your clients, and being the best at delivering what you deliver. And if you haven't done that yet, then this video is now your opportunity to go sit down when you're done and say, which clients, if I'm trying to be everything to everybody, which clients do I really enjoy working for the most? Which ones are really just kind of right up my alley in terms of what they want versus what I have to offer? Put those two together, niche down, know thy client, increase your revenue. I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I will see y'all on pillar number 8.